A big welcome or welcome back to week 2, 2022 programming. First off, a week recap of the 4 training days that you will see in this video, and a quick insight into one rest day. First off, we're seeing day 1, which includes squatting, barbell back squatting to be specific. To warm up, we first off did some leg swinging, which wasn't included in the video, but next off, we put on the shoes, the weightlifting shoes, and got under the bar and squatted with the barbell for a couple repetitions just to warm up the hips, increase the blood flow, and squatting felt quite nice once we got into it. I do want to note that looking back on the video footage, I am not specifically happy with the form. More specific, I will note that in the bottom of my squat, you might notice here, is a hip wink, and I just didn't necessarily love it too much. I think maybe a little bit more immobilizing before squatting, or maybe trying to focus on ascending throughout my whole body as opposed to just in my hips on the way up. The approach to this squat will look a lot more correct. Regardless, that's why we do this. There's tons of room for improvement when we look back on our footage. And the rest of the programming that day was as well as a barbell squat, a dumbbell row, skull crushers, and a lateral shoulder fly. They're not seen in this video because my DSLR died, the camera, but I did record them on my phone, and they are included and will be posted on my Patreon this week. If you want to see them, feel free to check it out. Day 2, which is well on its way now, we're seeing a barbell bench press. We've started off with just some like a little bit of skipping, dancing back and forth. It sounds redundant, but regardless, just to increase the blood flow, get us a little bit ready for the training to come. And after that, on the bench, I started moving the barbell around, and you will note here that after a couple of repetitions of 95 pounds, I got off the bench and started doing some rowing. Just a nice banded rowing pattern, single-armed, and I, at the end of it, double-armed, just to, I guess, stabilize, pardon me, get a much more balanced approach when on the bench, pushing and feeling the pressing pattern that you feel when is implemented in the reverse motion of pulling. More specifically, what I'm trying to get out there is the fact that when we set up a nice stabilized pulling approach with a single arm banded row, it's a lot quicker and more beneficially used when laying down on the bench and going through the pressing motion that you see here. Back at it with 135 on the bar, and that's soon to increase after a couple of repetitions, and we see here 155, leaving at least 3 to 5 repetitions in the tank every set. That way there's room for progression. We're not completely going all out in these rep ranges. There's at no point in any of these workouts a personal record or a max lift being made. Even the lift you're seeing here, that's 185 on the bench press. It was definitely a relatively heavy press, which is why I would call it a potentiated set, making this next set here feel a lot lighter, the 135, which I hit for, again, 3 to 5 reps from failure. The volume felt nice. The motions felt nice. It was by no means a repetitive feeling. I'm pressing a lot more lately. The pattern is feeling a lot better and a lot more comfortable, which is the reason for progressing in weight and strength. Moved on next in day 2 from the bench press to the bicep curls. The bicep curls were the last exercise in this training routine. They summed up day 2, and it's funny because I'm wearing a belt for hitting calves in this. I didn't even want to mention it, but now that I'm noticing the belt, again, calves weren't, the exercise for calves was not included in this video. However, they were done, if you believe it or not. Yep. On to the rest day here. You'll see a couple just dynamic stretches or active routines that were performed on the rest day. Again, this is just a quick insight into the fact that on my rest days I'm not sitting as much as some may believe. don't get me wrong. I'm not that active on my rest days, but this is some of the ways that I do stay active and mobile at that. On to day 3, we've got a good morning barbell exercise for the legs to start off here. And range was a little bit shy at first, which you'll see incrementally increases. And starting off with the warm-up with just the barbell. Next, we move on to a weighted approach to the pattern. I believe 25s. We increase with a 10 on each side after that to hit what is our working volume for this exercise. The patterning felt great. I'd like to say that the range that I'm seeing here, even though it was shy at first, it's pretty impressive for myself, and I'm glad to see it. I'm gonna keep chipping away at making that range get a little bit, I guess, greater, as well as progressing in strength and endurance while I increase the volume and do the same with the weight. Regardless, back on track. The programming for day 3 is good mornings, barbell rows, skull crushers, overhead press, and you'll see included was a banded tricep extension. It's funny because I did note in last week's video that I was going to decrease the tricep volume, and that was actually, I'd say done, but not in an approach to decreasing the exercises that were performed, more so just decreasing the sets, the amount of times that the exercise was performed on each day of exercise. You'll see here in the video the sum up of the good mornings. So with the barbell row here, the progression is definitely noted when it comes to the stability throughout my midline, demonstrated here in a sped up manner. We'll note that there's not a lot of movement and momentum for the exercise, and definitely a lot of range of motion demonstrated through not only the hip flexion, but as well as the range that I let the barbell go towards the ground. The contractions felt great. The patterning for all my back training has been feeling wonderful. One thing I did want to note in this recording this week was I would like to increase the amount of vertical pulling I'm doing, but that can be a conversation for later. Day 3, overhead pressing, was done with just the barbell. No weight was added. Volume was achieved through increasing the amount of sets this week. 3 sets were completed in this training, and the overhead pressing was relatively smooth. And I noted, looking back on this video footage, that all the repetitions completed, I do not like the extension of my triceps upon the, I'd say, part B of the exercise patterning. That's when I'm fully pressed above head. If you pause the video and take a quick peek, you'll note that the tricep extension, maybe once or twice is fully achieved, but again, I think a full extension is definitely going to help with increasing the amount of strength and endurance that I can see while performing that exercise. Day 3 wraps up with the tricep extensions. This is performed through the laying on the bench, doing the skull crushers. This is definitely my favorite of all tricep exercises, especially with the limited amount of equipment that I do have here at the house. However, they're one of my favorite, have been for a long time. I really find a benefit when using dumbbells, because you get to not only get a lot more range than you would through a barbell, but the added benefit of stability. And summing it up here with the tricep extension. This is an exercise I haven't really done, but I've seen others I do in the past, and more recently I wanted to perform it myself. I did note earlier in the video, my tricep extension for the overhead press was minimal in terms of achievement, so I would like to see that more, and I think a benefit from that can be just increasing my strength in the end range of tricep extension, as you can see is performed here, as the band gets increased tension near the end of range in a tricep extension. Question for you, is my tricep overextended there? Yeah, feel free to comment below. Day 4, well on its way. We've got, first off here, as noted in week 1 for program 2022, more leg volume. More leg volume is achieved by these quad extensions. The quadricep extension is kind of like a makeshift form here, as you see with the band hooked up to the rig, hooked up to a cuff. I'm able to perform knee extension, which is a specific approach to strengthening the quadriceps. I'm using limited tension here and performing the exercise with progression in mind through volume. The benefit here is the fact that I get to stabilize the knee. As you can see, I'm actually quite often moving, shifting around, trying to find the best tension and the most comfortable way at achieving full knee extension. The exercise felt great, and it's definitely one that I'm going to keep around. The only downfall to this exercise is that you're not getting a full tension in the bottom of the exercise, only in the top of knee extension. More for later. You'll see here a quick view of the opposite angle, just so you can see that the approach that we're taking, the setup, if you wanted to try to replicate it yourself at home. Wonderful. On to the next. We've got the dumbbell curls and a bench press, as well as calf raises that were performed on this day. However, the camera did die. However, a quick recap for this day is that all 4 exercises of week 2 were included in this video, as well as a quick insight into one rest day. If you'd like to check out extras, you can join us on the Patreon channel, where you can also access all 3 tiers of the personal training that is offered, and as well 365 days of tag along to see extras included for training that's not included in these videos. Thanks for tuning in. This has definitely been the longest video. Your support is the reason for this to continue. As always, eat your food, invest your time, and take care of fellow gainers.